Now here's another one for you. Common sense would tell you not to believe anybody that says anything from bathtub. No, that's not true. If I want to tell a lie, the best thing to do is put on a three-piece suit. Because if you walk down anywhere with a three-piece suit, the policeman will bow to you and say, "Good day, sir." But if you have long hair and no shoes on, the policeman will say, "Where do you come from? Where are you going here?" And you ask the policeman, "Oh, what's the big deal?" And he will say, "You fit into the terrorist build." I mean, there were no terrorists before. How many terrorists have there ever been? 8? 8 at a time, maybe? Sometimes 12 in any one land? 12 or 10? Maybe there's 1,000 terrorists on the planet. And there's how many people? 7 billion? I mean, is there any relationship? Why the hell? I'll tell you, I was really almost wanted to be violent, but I've been told that violence isn't very good. I think we like to be violent, and I'm not sure how we're going to deal with this. We probably need harder sports or something. But anyhow, violence is a part of us, and we're going to have to figure out how to deal with that. But I don't think ignoring it is one of the best ways. The thing was, the guy at the airport said, after I said this was all over a little done, he said, "Well, maybe if there was more security, there wouldn't have been a 9/11. Man, I really did want to rip out his throat, because it was the biggest bald-faced lie that any moronic imbecile had ever told me. Okay, think about this. First of all, 9/11, why do they always pick 9/11? Because they love it. And those psychotic snakes of terror had planned the event. The evidence is there. It was a planned event. The Silver Snake guy that owned the building, he should definitely be in jail for murder and conspiracy and fraud. And, I mean, he made $8 billion on that fraud. And he started a fucking war on that fraud, although I don't think he started the war. It was just like an opportunity. Like, he's just an opportunist. And opportunists are the vilest snakes. And I don't really like to use the word snakes, because snakes are mostly just nice creatures. So, because they're vipers, but vipers is just no word for snakes. But let's get right on back to Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Now, there's been a lot of stories about Jesus Christ. Did he exist? Does he still exist? If he existed, how can he not exist now? Anything that exists still exists, because matter and energy, I mean, it's all the same universe. Nothing changes. Well, everything changes. It changes all the time, but nothing goes away. I mean, anyway, but the point is, right now, Jesus Christ walked on the water. Right. Okay. Well, let me think. Let's try our common sense with that, okay? We could test it out. We could try walking on water. I've tried it a few times, and it works when the ice is on top of the water. I mean, the water's frozen. It's ice. You can walk on water. Yeah? Okay, that works. But Jesus Christ didn't live in a cold climate, although it was winter one time, in one verse, which made no sense to me. But anyway, he quite often walked along the water. And sometimes when I like to do that as well, because there's a river that goes downtown, so you can walk beside the river on the way downtown, and you can say, "I walked on the river." But what you mean is along the river. Now, this is the simplest way and the most common sense way to say, okay, that's probably what they meant when Jesus is walking on the water. But then when you go to the story, it says, we walked out to the boat on the water. And then Peter thought he could do it too, and he didn't have enough faith. Well, if you want to talk about faith, you're going to get me really upset. So let's get right on back to the walking on the water. There is a Jesus Christ lizard that can do that. He goes at really high speeds. He has sort of flat feet and a tail that sort of keeps him up, but he skims over the water. He doesn't really walk on it. He goes like bloody fuck. But anyway, you cannot walk on water unless it's frozen, okay? It doesn't work because you are more dense than water. Water is made of it's a liquid, it's a fluid. It just flows, okay? You can't walk on it. Now there's this video of some guy that says, well, he can walk on water, and he walks a perfectly straight line, oddly enough. Well, why is he walking a perfectly straight line? Well, that's the only way he can walk on water, is to walk a perfectly straight line. I wonder what that means. Anyhow, so he walks, I don't know who the asshole's called. He's just doing it for a joke. I mean, for money more than anything, because he's just a prostitute like the rest of us. So he's walking from one corner of the swimming pool to the next corner of the swimming pool, and I think there's even a chick that swims underneath the bridge at one point. And people say, well, there's a chick that swam underneath where he was walking. Okay, so what's your point? See, the point is, somehow he made, probably out of plexiglass, a bridge between the corner and the next corner. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it doesn't matter. But there are people who actually think, wow, he actually did walk on water. How can that be? Well, it can't. Okay? It can't be. You cannot walk on water. Why? Well, because it's physically impossible. Okay? You can walk on ice. You can float on water. I mean, you go to the Black Sea and sit on that. If you walk on it, you would sink into it. But the Dead Sea is enough salt in it. You people. Common sense. Just get it, man. Well, what about Moses? He went with 600,000 soldiers. 600,000 of their women. No, they always had 2 or 3. So let's say 2 million women, 16 million children, and goats and sheep, and so about 40 million people after Moses raised up his magic rod. He said, part the Red Sea. But wait a minute, was it the Red Sea or was it the Reed Sea? Anyway, if you think Moses made a big huge ocean separate with the magic wand, then you are insane, okay? If it is written in a book, it does not make it true. Okay? You cannot, I mean, it could have been a story about 68 Jews walking through the Reed Sea. The Reed Sea would be shallow enough. But it was not 600,000 soldiers with their wives, their children, their own slaves, the hordes, and all the animals walking through the Red Sea. People, if it is impossible, then use your mind and think, and use your common sense. If a thing is a bald-faced lie, it's a bald-faced lie. And you've got to understand that, or else we're going to be fucking idiot slaves for the rest of eternity. And we have been slaves now for thousands of years. It's not new. We're not becoming slaves. We are slaves. And it has changed from one generation to the next. And it almost looked like we're getting out of it during the time of the Greeks, and the Romans sort of stole some of the Greek stuff and didn't destroy it all. But the church came along and went into this dark ages again, and they told us the earth is flat. Okay, the earth is flat. Well, the church said so, so it must be true, right? People, wake up. And we'll wrap it up with just a few quotes out of the Bible. One, just reference. Eve was the only hero of the Bible. Eve was curious about the things that other cultures knew before her. That's what's represented in the snake, is knowledge. And knowledge comes from people before you. Sometimes they're beliefs, so it's hard. You have to have common sense and know what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. But we'll get to the most important verse in the whole Bible, and that is the very last verse of Judges. And just to really get your fucking knickers in a twist, I'm not even going to tell you what it is. But it is the only verse in the Bible that matters. Learn it and get it.